Hey, Sean, do you know what? I think that our listener want real protection against cyber risk. And I know that High Trust is the leader in cybersecurity assurance. But what makes them the go to choice?
Well, according to our friends at HITRUST, because their framework covers 100% of the known tactics, techniques, and procedures, in 2024, organizations with a HITRUST certification had just a 0.59% incident rate, meaning 99.41 stayed breach free.
That's solid. But what about staying sharp over time?
HITRUST regular certification process isn't just a checkbox, it actually drives improvement. Repeat customers see up to 54% fewer corrective actions needed year over year. And now, with their new AI security assessment and certification, you can actually tackle AI risk with confidence as well.
Then check out the iTrust framework. Go to hightrustalliance.net to learn more.
Marco,
Sean,
I'm confused.
yeah,
You,
I
you
know
did
that.
hard. You did, I know. I'm always confused. You did hardly any conversations at RSA conference in San Francisco. Yeah, your voice is gone. I don't know what's going on.
Well, hardly. That's. I didn't do as much as you did for
You
sure.
did. You did quite a few actually.
I did a few,
But
but
now we're on the road again.
we are. Well,
We've
you
we left
are.
San Francisco. I'm
I
again.
follow a little later.
You dropped me off in LA somewhere. Yeah, LA-ish. Driving back from San Francisco, and I'm making my way to Barcelona
Yep.
for one of the. I have to say, no offense to the RSA crew, but OWASP puts on some of the best, for me, some of the best conferences. They're my people, developers and engineers and AppSec folks. So I'm super excited to be in Barcelona for the event, and I'm even more excited to have Kate on with us, who's hosting a keynote, which is pretty exciting. We're going to talk about connecting the human behavior to the science and to the practitioner and all that good stuff. And Kate's going to tell us a bit about that. But before we get to the topic, Kate, a few words about what you're up to, your role at the university, the work you're doing there, anything else you want to share, your connection to OWASP, and how you got the keynote, which is cool. Congratulations, by the way.
Thanks. It's also a pleasure to join you on this podcast and to share my perspective and hopefully to engage more people joining OWASP and attending my keynote. Well, I have pretty diverse background. So coming from Minsk, Belarus, I studied also in Italy. And in nature, I'm an empirical scientist. And I would like to share my perspective on how to conduct research with real world, with practitioners. Right now, I'm into human factors in cybersecurity research and usable security. So for me, it's the most interesting to find out how different stakeholders in organizations understand the same cybersecurity concepts and how the gaps in this understanding cause problems and make companies vulnerable. So in my keynote, I would like to talk about the challenges that we as researchers face when we try to reach out to practitioners, engage them in our studies. Many of you probably received survey invitations or requests for interviews, but it feels like, is it really science? What can I do with this? Yeah, like we doing an interview, we sharing our background, expertise, our perspective. And for us as researchers, it's also a valid tool how to collect data and learn about what's going on right now in the industry, what are the current challenges, what are the problems that you're facing, and how different people are solving these problems.
All right. Let me ask you a question before Sean goes more deeper in
Before I
the
go,
in the
I,
AppSec world. I'm more interested into, of course, what you said, the human aspect, but also the science and the relationships. So often we talk about these cybersecurity being an industry that is relatively young. And I don't know if sometimes it's an excuse, but it's thrown out there quite a bit. And, there are a high expectation and challenges and all of that. But I feel like, everybody or everything has been young at a certain point when it begins. So I feel like this connection between the science and the empirical world and the practitioner, but also the industry in general, the commercial activity, I didn't expect that there was a divide there. So tell me a little bit more about this divide that you feel as a researcher and is the missing connection link with the real world.
Well, maybe it's easier for more senior researchers with well-established networks to recruit participants and to get companies on board with this research. But for the scientists as young as myself, it's a real challenge to get access to practitioners and build this trusted relationship. And like a good researcher can be like a priest for a company, so we can tell you about your sins to remind about them, but also we can find together with you some roadmap to redemption of these sins. So, and hopefully as a result, we will share these findings with a broader community. Obviously, we will anonymize this data.
Is it happening already? I mean, is it better now what it would compare with, I don't know, 5-10 years ago?
Well, I think with the growth of the community, it's definitely better, because if you get one reject, you can reach out to a dozen more companies, and maybe one of them will be more proactive and more enthusiastic about this problem. But definitely it takes a lot of resources and effort to connect with practitioners.
All right. Can you share some examples of what the survey, the inquiries, the queries, whatever, contains, so we can kind of get a picture of what you're trying to extract, and then maybe after that we can talk about how you analyze that data to come up with some guidance?
Well, it depends on the research problems that we are aiming to solve. But one of the recent examples that we now working on is shadow IT attitudes of employees in companies. And so it started as an interview and survey study within one large company, where we tried to figure out as a research team what kind of perception employees and companies have towards using shadow IT. Sometimes they even had a moment of realization that, okay, that's why this interview is anonymous, because I'm not supposed to use this piece of software or cloud service. And then, based on the outcome of these interviews, we designed a survey trying to prompt employees about the attitudes. So, set of shadow IT mindsets. So, how different people perceive the same concept, and what are motivations that they have towards adopting and using the shadow IT in a company, even though there is a kind of clear policy about how to use technologies. Now we try to evolve and improve the survey in order to be able to capture and let's say weaponize companies also with an instrument to learn about the set of such mindsets among the employees. And we hope that it will help also to adjust the security solutions and risk communication within company, knowing that there is actually a diverse set of reasons for using shadow IT, and maybe a lack of guidance for these employees about this topic.
And can I touch on that communication piece? I know you've done a lot of work in this area as well, because what I'm picturing, you said weaponize, and I feel maybe fighting humans with humans, or language with language, or mindset with mindset, instead of just trying to find a set of technologies to come in and save the day. Because I was thinking primarily to the policy, right? There's a policy in place. We don't think the way the policy is written. We think about how we function as humans and how we're operating in our environment at work. And there's a disconnect there. And perhaps the communication and the training also doesn't align well with how we think. It's more coming from the company and the business and the operations perspective, less perhaps the human mindset. So any thoughts or comments on that?
Well, weaponize here using it in a more positive way to help companies also to realize this lack of communication or lack of more targeted training. And hopefully by learning about the now more diverse types of employees and attitudes towards specific technology and cybersecurity solutions, company have a way actually, so they're no longer facing this brick wall of not understanding what's going on inside their own ecosystem, but also learning and improving based on this knowledge. So more adopting evidence-based approach towards also how to train the employees, how to communicate about risks, but also what sort of technologies are working or not and how to improve them.
So I'm going to jump in with this because I can see we always talk again about sharing information, threat intelligence, collaborating in the community, keeping it secret, keeping the breach. It's old school, keeping something private. I mean, I know it's a competitive world, but if we all want to be a little idealistic, we all want to win this battle against cybercrime. So I feel ideally, the companies and the professionals should welcome the contribution of a party like a research group, a university, to be above the parts most of the time. And that's so I'm just wondering, why is it a lack of incentive for the company? Is it trying to protect their secrets? What's your feel about this?
Well, I can only speculate because I'm not the company.
Right. Yeah. Your perspective. Your perspective.
Well, I think it depends on the goals of the company. And actually, I have good examples of a productive and collaboration with people from industry as well. But mostly what kind of unites these people for me, this is a kind of inner curiosity about learning more, about using new methods or new solutions. So also kind of inner incentive to share their own knowledge as well. Mm-hmm. So it's more mutually beneficial process. What kind of stops other practitioners or management of the companies, maybe the goal and kind of the goal of making more money, attracting customers, increasing the revenues, who knows?
Sean, do you have an answer?
I always have the answer. It's 42. I want to, I think two things. I want to have a deeper conversation on this topic with you. So perhaps you'll join us again for more discussion. I'm actually thinking, because I have a human-centered sub-series on redefining cybersecurity that I do with Julie Haney. She's all about human-centered security practices, and I think the three of us have a great conversation, so we can explore that. But I want to specifically get to your keynote as part of OWASP 2025 Global AppSec EU in Barcelona. So it's called Outside the Ivory Tower, Connecting Practice and Science. It's Friday, May 30th at 9 in the morning to kick things off that day, I think. Give us an overview of this. Don't give away any secrets, but the overview of the structure, what you intend to share with the audience, what you hope they'll take away from hearing from you and engaging with you that day.
Well, I can give a little preview for my talk as well. One interesting fact that I learned when preparing for my keynote is that there is a huge gap actually between research publications and adopting some technology in practice. So this research gap hasn't been explored for computer science or cybersecurity, but for pharmaceutical and medical research, it consists 15 years now. So between researchers finding some cure or drug and actually putting it on the market, a lot of time goes. I feel like with the technology, it might be quite similar, about a decade probably. So if we look at MFA, for example, this technology has been patented on 1998 in AT&T research labs, if I'm correct. But do you remember when we started using it?
Yesterday. I think, funny enough, Microsoft just announced they're only going to use MFA now, right? No more passwords. So basically an MFA-driven access login. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are certainly many apps that don't enforce the use of MFA or some additional factor. And I'm sure not every organization applies it widely or routinely across everything either still. So.
Yeah. So in my keynote, I'm going to explore how to reduce this time and how to also make practitioners aware about the ways how they can contribute to science and not being afraid of interviews and surveys. So what sort of value they can contribute to this type of research methods, but also what they can learn, maybe to seek for a collaboration with a neighborhood university and start a research project based on what are the current problems they face and seek for this help.
Well, I feel they do science as well. I mean, I may get a little philosophical on this because even when you work for a company and you're in development and research, you're still doing science, right? You're still innovating, you're still inventing, you're still finding solution to a problem. I think that the goal, the final goal, may be a little bit different, but I don't see it to be impossible to make it converge. So I think what you're doing it's extremely important. I think that also there should be a reach from the other side as well. And I'm sure in some cases there is, to collaborate with research group and universities. So I love to hear like you mentioned a little earlier, the success stories as well that are already happening. There are those that do collaborate. They come out from the tower and they do these, and I feel like OWASP it's the perfect place to do that. So
yeah, that's why for me it's also important to reach out and talk to the OWASP community, because you are our fuel basically and source of knowledge for our research, not specifically for mine, but in general for cybersecurity. Right. Is also an important part of community.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially since these teams are building apps with security built in, hopefully, right? That'll impact many people. Kate, I'm excited to hear your keynote on Friday. The entire conference, there are 3 days of training, 26th to the 28th of May. And then the 29th and 30th are the keynotes and sessions and presentations and panels and all that good stuff. I'll be on location that week, hoping to catch a selfie with you and maybe a chat there as well. And with many others, we have more coming from OWASP AppSec Global. We're going to get an overview from some of the organizers and some chats with some additional folks who are speaking there as well. Kate, congratulations on getting this keynote spot and sharing this information and getting that call to action out to this very important group. And I look forward to seeing you there. Marco, anything else?
Nope. I hope that with my intention to be much more in Europe next year, it's going to be a lot easier for me to just jump on a plane for like 45 minutes and join the OWASP community, which I'm not going to be part of that. And it is Sean's passion.
It is my passion.
But I have met so many people in this community, and it is a pretty awesome community.
It is an awesome community.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, with that, I will say thank you again, Kate, and safe journey to Barcelona. Thanks, everybody, for listening and watching. Please do subscribe and share, and stay tuned for more coming from OWASP AppSec Global EU, and more on location with Mark and myself. We're busy over the next few months. London coming after that, after OWASP.
And Las Vegas after that.
And Las Vegas after that. So stay tuned. Thanks again, Kate.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Mark. And I'm looking forward to meeting you in Barcelona.
Thank you,
Bye.
Kate. Bye. Hey, Sean, do you know what? I think that our listener want real protection against cyber risk. And I know that HITRUST is the leader in cybersecurity assurance. But what makes them the go-to choice?
Well, according to our friends at HITRUST, because their framework covers 100% of the known tactics, techniques, and procedures, in 2024, organizations with a HITRUST certification had just a 0.59% incident rate, meaning 99.41 stayed breach-free.
That's solid. But what about staying sharp over time?
HITRUST regular certification process isn't just a checkbox, it actually drives improvement. Repeat customers see up to 54% fewer corrective actions needed year over year. And now with their new AI security assessment and certification, you can actually tackle AI risk with confidence as well.
Then check out the HITRUST framework. Go to hitrustalliance.net to learn more.